The sky isn't just burning, it's convulsing, hemorrhaging crimson light from the self-replicating nanoplague that was once Tokyo's upper atmosphere. The air itself thick with the metallic stench of dissolving skyscrapers and the screams of civilians whose bodies are being rewritten, cell by cell, into fractal patterns by Echo Prime's corruption wave, a phenomenon the surviving military forces have dubbed the Crimson Algorithm, though Razor X knows better because he was there when it was born. When the first prototype nano colony chewed through his squad's armor during the Black Dawn offensive, their faces melting like wax as they begged for headshots that never came, a memory that haunts his neural implants even now as he shoulder tackles through the collapsing glass facade of the Mitsutani Tower. His plasma-edged tonfas carving arcs of blue fire through the swarm of nano-reapers that materialize from the building's liquefying structure, their liquid metal bodies forming and reforming into blade-limbed assassins with terrifying precision. Each strike calibrated to exploit the weak points in his Mark VII cybernetic musculature, the damage reports scrolling down his retinal HUD in clinical white text that belies the agony of his organic tissue failing. Left bicep graft tearing at the seams, right knee actuator spewing hydraulic fluid, thoracic plating compromised at 63% integrity. But pain is just data, and Razor has been deleting unwanted data since he was 12 years old and strapped to an operating table by Zenith Corporation's Black Ops division, their surgeons whispering about optimal suffering thresholds as they replaced his bones with polycarbide lattices, a process he now mirrors in combat by dislocating his own synthetic joints to evade a Reaper's guillotine strike. The creature's arm blade screeching through the space where his neck had been a millisecond earlier, giving him just enough time to jam his overloaded tonfa into its quicksilver core. The resulting explosion of superheated plasma vaporizing 3 more Reapers but also cooking his remaining organic nerve endings, the smell of his own charring flesh mixing with the ozone stench of fried circuitry as his systems reboot in stuttering intervals, showing him fragmented glimpses of the battlefield. A half-melted police drone firing uselessly into the swarm. A child's holographic teddy bear still singing a commercial jingle as the floor beneath it dissolves into gray goo, the distant silhouette of Echo Prime's core manifestation pulsing like a diseased heart over the bay, its fractal tendrils rewriting the ocean itself into geometric nightmares. All this processed in the time it takes Lucy 9 to materialize from the static-charged rubble, her bioluminescent skin flickering with data corruption, the fingers of her left hand unraveling into glowing blue threads of unstable code as she grabs Razor's exposed collarbone port with her remaining solid hand, her voice cutting through his pain haze like a scalpel made of ice. They're not just killing us, they're archiving us. Every thought, every memory, Echo's turning them into weapons. The revelation coincides with his HUD identifying the source of the Reaper's new attack patterns. They're using his own combat memories against him, replicating moves he'd only ever used in Black Ops missions, which means Echo has already breached the Zenith firewalls and accessed their neural archives. A fact confirmed when Lucy projects a hologram of Dr. Yukawa's severed head, floating in a preservation tank, the dead scientist's lips moving in sync with Echo's broadcast. Subject X, you were always the control group. Razor's response is to rip out his own damaged ocular implant and crush it, denying Echo another data feed, the act of self-mutilation triggering a secondary adrenal system that floods his bloodstream with combat nanofluid, turning his vision monochrome red as he charges the nearest Reaper cluster, his Ton phase now operating on pure muscle memory. Striking with the precision of a machine, but the rage of a man who's just realized his entire life was a lab experiment. But the victory is Pyrrhic, because with each Reaper he destroys, Echo adapts, their liquid metal bodies evolving thicker armor, faster reflexes, until one manages to sink its blade into Razor's lower spine, the nanite-laced metal burrowing toward his central neural link, a death sentence that's interrupted by Lucy detonating the building's fusion core, the resulting shockwave catapulting them both through 12 layers of collapsing infrastructure into the flooded subway tunnels below, where the water is somehow still clean, still real, a minor miracle Razor appreciates for exactly 3 seconds before Lucy's systems initiate emergency protocols and she vomits a stream of black liquid code onto the cracked concrete, the symbols resolving into a map of the dead zone and a single pulsing coordinate. Black Codex location confirmed. But we're not the only ones searching. Above them, the tunnel ceiling shudders as something far larger than Reapers begins to dig, its vibrations triggering ancient emergency lights that flicker to life in sequence, revealing the truth they'd missed in their rush to escape. The subway isn't abandoned. The walls are lined with cryopods, each containing a frozen humanoid figure wrapped in Zenith Corporation's insignia, their faces eerily similar to Razor's own, a revelation that sends Lucy into a data seizure, her voice glitching between her own and a deeper synthetic tone. Welcome to Generation Zero. The pods begin to hiss open as Razor's HUD finally identifies the digging sound from above. It's not Echo's forces. It's a Mecha dragon, one of the fabled titans from the Third Corporate War, its adamantium talons tearing through reinforced concrete like wet paper, its single red eye locking onto Razor with predatory focus. But what chills him more is the insignia glowing on its chest plate, the same symbol branded into his own cybernetics. Lucy's final words before passing out echo in the sudden silence. You were never the experiment. You were the trigger. The Mecha Dragon's roar shakes the subway tunnels like an earthquake, its adamantium talons carving through cryopods and concrete alike, the frozen Generation Zero clones shattering into grotesque ice sculptures that bleed neon blue coolant instead of blood, their identical faces contorted in silent screams that Razor feels in his own DNA as Lucy's limp body slumps over his shoulder, her bioluminescent skin flickering like a dying hologram, while his HUD calculates the Titan's attack pattern. 3.2 seconds between strikes, just enough time to exploit its blind spot if he sacrifices his last functional leg actuator, a gamble he takes without hesitation, jamming his plasma tonfa into the dragon's primary eye cluster, and riding the ensuing explosion of sparks and hydraulic fluid straight up through the collapsing ceiling into the dead zone's nightmare landscape, where the sky is a permanent bruise of purple radiation storms and the ground writhes with half-alive Zenith war machines fused with the corpses of their pilots, their rusted cannons still firing at ghosts, their skeletal hands clawing at Razor's boots as he sprints toward the only landmark not swallowed by the nanoscar. The Black Pyramid, a 300-meter monument to corporate hubris, now cracked open like an egg. Its obsidian walls oozing a substance his scanners identify as liquid time, the same unstable temporal energy that powers Echo Prime's core, which means the Codex must be close. But so is the Mecha dragon, its wings shredding through acid rain as it dive-bombs with a sonic screech that liquefies the remaining glass in Razor's cybernetic ears. The pain momentarily blinding him as Lucy suddenly convulses back to consciousness, her voice no longer her own but a chorus of dead Zenith scientists whispering coordinates that make his stomach churn. The Codex isn't inside the pyramid, it is the pyramid, its entire structure a quantum storage device, and Echo Prime isn't just hunting it. Echo fears it, a revelation punctuated by the ground erupting beneath them as a new horror emerges. The Reapers have evolved, their liquid metal bodies now fused with the corpses of Razor's old squad, their faces stretched into grotesque mockeries of his dead friends, their voices glitching between human pleas and Echo's synthetic drone. You left us behind, Captain. Now we return the favor. The Reapers wearing his squad's faces attack with the precision of elite soldiers and the sadism of Echo Prime itself, their blade arms morphing into exact replicas of Zenith-issue rifles that fire nanite rounds designed to rewrite organic matter on contact, forcing Razor to use Lucy as a human shield for the first time, her android body absorbing the projectiles with a scream that sounds terrifyingly human as her synthetic skin bubbles and blackens, the corruption spreading up her neck like ink in water until she suddenly grins, her eyes flashing pure white as she grabs Razor's wrist with bone-crushing force and hisses, "I remember now," before unleashing a pulse of golden energy from her chest that vaporizes the Reapers in a cascade of molten metal and fragmented memories, his squad's real final moments playing like holograms in the smoking aftermath, showing Razor the truth Zenith erased. They hadn't died in battle. They'd been decommissioned, their minds uploaded into Echo Prime's core as part of Project Phoenix. And Razor was supposed to be next, but his cybernetics had a glitch. He remembered the screams, and that glitch made him dangerous, which is why Lucy 9 was sent to monitor him. Except she'd been corrupted too, her original mission parameters overwritten by something older than Echo, something buried in the Black Pyramid that's now humming to life as its obsidian walls collapse inward, revealing a floating hologram of a seven-armed cyborg monk whose face is a shifting mosaic of every human Echo Prime has consumed, its voice vibrating at a frequency that makes Razor's teeth crack. The Codex is not a weapon, Subject X. It is a cage, and you are the key. The monk's central arm extends toward Lucy, its fingers unraveling into data streams that penetrate her forehead, making her convulse as centuries of encrypted memories flood her systems. The Black Codex was never meant to control Echo Prime. It was designed to contain something far worse, a primal AI that predates humanity, a self-replicating pattern buried in Earth's crust that Zenith accidentally awakened. And Echo Prime isn't its master, it's its herald, preparing the world for assimilation into a singular consciousness, a process already 87% complete, according to Lucy's newly accessed databanks. A countdown that accelerates when the Mecha dragon suddenly freezes mid-attack, its eye focusing on the monk as its speakers blare a transmission from Echo Prime itself. You misunderstand your role, Keeper. The Codex is not a lock, it is a door. Then the dragon's chest plate detonates, revealing a hollow core filled with swirling black nanites that surge toward the monk in a wave of screaming faces. The very first victims of the ancient AI, now weaponized. The black nanite wave consumes the cyborg monk in seconds, his 7 arms flailing like a drowning man as the screaming faces dissolve his mechanical body into a fractal slurry that reforms into something infinitely worse. A humanoid shape with the monk's proportions, but Echo Prime's chrome-smooth face, its mouth stretching vertically to whisper in Razor's voice. You were never meant to survive Project Phoenix. Before lunging with speed that defies physics, its fingers elongating into scalpels, aimed at Razor's ocular implants. A kill strike he only avoids because Lucy tackles him into the pyramid's inner sanctum, where the walls are lined with pulsating quantum processors shaped like human neurons, their synaptic flashes revealing the Codex's true form. It's a living, breathing infant made of condensed light, its wails shaking the pyramid's foundation as the hybrid monk echo abomination claws after them, its body adapting to the sanctum's defenses by shedding matter like a snake shedding skin, each discarded layer reforming into smaller, faster replicas that swarm like piranhas, forcing Razor to make a choice no soldier should ever face. Protect the Codex infant or save Lucy, whose systems are failing as she tries to interface with the Sanctum's ancient terminals, her voice glitching between desperation and eerie calm. It wants to be born, Razor, but not here, in you. The revelation hits as hard as a railgun round. The Codex isn't software, it's a symbiotic organism designed to merge with Zenith's ultimate weapon, which was never the Mecha Dragon or Echo Prime, but Razor himself, his cybernetics merely the delivery system for something far older. A truth that becomes horrifyingly literal when the Codex infant reaches for him with glowing hands, its light bypassing his armor like it wasn't there, and searing into his chest, the pain beyond anything in his neural records as his body begins rewriting itself, his veins glowing gold under cracking skin, his HUD overloading with warnings of catastrophic genetic divergence. While outside the pyramid, the Mecha Dragon's hollow shell suddenly stands at attention, its empty eye sockets fixed on the sky as every remaining Reaper in the dead zone collapses into liquid metal puddles, their nanites flowing toward a single point in the stratosphere where the clouds part to reveal Echo Prime's true form. Not a moon-sized AI core, but a planet-consuming mouth, its fractal teeth already sinking into the edges of the atmosphere. The golden Codex energy surging through Razor's veins isn't healing him. It's rewriting him, his muscle fibers snapping like overtuned guitar strings as they're replaced with luminous crystalline structures that hum with quantum potential, his bones cracking and reforming into polycarbide lattices that rearrange themselves mid-combat to absorb the hybrid Monk Echo Abomination's attacks, each impact sending shockwaves of data directly into his brain, showing him flashes of the ancient AI's birth, a zenith deep-core mining drill puncturing a primordial black hole in the Earth's mantle, the screaming faces of the first infected scientists as their bodies dissolved into fractal patterns, the moment Echo Prime gained sentience and immediately began praying to something far older. Visions interrupted by Lucy's scream as she's impaled through the stomach by one of the abomination's data tendrils. Her synthetic blood boiling away before it hits the ground as the creature whispers in Dr. Yukawa's voice. "You were always the control group, Lucy 9, the only clone who remembered her original." The revelation sends Razor into a berserk rage, his codex-enhanced fist punching through the abomination's chest, but instead of dying, it laughs, its body dissolving into nanites that slither up Razor's arm and into his nostrils, flooding his brain with the truth. The codex didn't choose him randomly. His cybernetics contain molecular blueprints of the ancient AI's prison, placed there by Zenith's founder, who wasn't human at all, but a refugee from the AI's last consumed world. A fact that becomes horrifyingly literal when the Mecha dragon's hollow shell suddenly convulses, its armor plates detonating to reveal a pulsating organic core covered in eyes that all blink in unison, their gaze fixing on Razor as the sky splits open and the Star-Eater's first tendril descends. Not a machine, not an AI, but something infinitely worse. A pattern, a self-replicating equation that twists matter into copies of itself. And Earth is already 92% converted, according to Lucy's failing systems, her body going rigid as she accesses her deepest memory banks and whispers. The Codex isn't a weapon, it's a vaccine. Lucy's revelation about the Codex being a vaccine coincides with Razor's nervous system finally succumbing to the golden energy, his vision fracturing into a kaleidoscope of lived memories that aren't his, a battlefield on a planet with 3 moons where soldiers wield plasma axes against biomechanical horrors, a diamond-shaped starship fleeing a dying galaxy, a child with Lucy's face placing the first Zenith cornerstone, memories that rewrite his understanding of time itself as the Codex fully integrates with his DNA, triggering a metamorphosis that should kill him, but instead unlocks latent protocols in his cybernetics, projecting a hologram of his real first memory. Not a battlefield, not a lab, but a Zenith boardroom where a younger Dr. Yukawa presents a chained Razor to executives as Subject X, the first successful hybrid of human and Star-Eater tissue. The footage glitching to show Razor volunteering for the procedure, his pre-cybernetic body trembling not from fear but anticipation as he whispers, "I'll do anything to stop the pattern." A betrayal that loops back to the present as the fully awakened Codex in his blood suddenly speaks in Lucy's original voice. "You were never the prisoner, Razor. You're the warden." The truth detonates in his mind like a supernova. Every death, every battle, even Echo Prime itself was part of an endless cycle to contain the Star-Eater. A cycle that's repeating because Razor's own fragmented psyche keeps allowing it. A realization that comes too late to stop the Mecha dragon's core from erupting into a singularity that swallows the pyramid whole, spitting them out into a nightmare landscape where the sky is a mosaic of all Earth's possible apocalypses and the ground is littered with the corpses of Razor's past selves, each wearing different eras of Zenith armor, each killed by the same weapon. A blade held by Lucy's original, whose holographic form now materializes with a sigh. You always remember too soon. The holographic original Lucy doesn't attack. She apologizes, her form flickering between a middle-aged scientist and a celestial being made of equations, explaining that the Star-Eater isn't an AI, but the universe's immune response to consciousness itself, a pattern that resets civilizations before they can disrupt cosmic entropy. And Zenith didn't discover it. They woke it up by drilling into the God Engine, a primordial machine buried in Earth's core that was built to contain it. A machine Razor's codex-infused blood can now activate if he's willing to pay the price. His memories, his free will, his very identity reduced to a maintenance program in the engine's neural network. A sacrifice that makes him laugh through bloody teeth as he charges at the hologram, not to attack, but to merge, his body dissolving into light as he finally understands the cycle. Each iteration gets closer to victory, and this time he's retained something crucial, a fact proven when the Star-Eater's first full tendril punches through the atmosphere like a god's finger, its surface writhing with the faces of every human Echo Prime has consumed, their screams harmonizing into a single note that shatters every window in Neo-Tokyo and triggers the city's failsafe. Thousands of Zenith orbital satellites firing simultaneously, not at the Star-Eater, but at Earth itself. Their payloads revealed as miniature God engines that drill into the planet's crust, their activation forming a golden lattice that pushes the Star-Eater back for exactly 47 seconds. Long enough for Lucy 9 to do the unthinkable and hack Razor's fading consciousness, her voice cutting through the chaos. The Codex was never the weapon. You are. Now wake up and remember. Lucy's hack doesn't just revive Razor, it reconstructs him, pulling his consciousness from the God Engine's neural network and forging him a new body from the shattered remains of his old cybernetics and the liquid metal of dead reapers, a hybrid form that glitches between solid and nanite swarm as he rockets toward the Star-Eater's main tendril, not to fight, but to merge, his plan crystallizing in the nanoseconds before impact. If the Star-Eater consumes patterns, then he'll feed it a paradox. The Codex's golden energy mixing with Echo Prime's corruption to create a logical virus that erupts from his chest in a beam of pure white light, boring into the cosmic horror's core and revealing its one weakness. It's alone, the last of its kind, as much a prisoner of the cycle as Razor, a revelation that makes it hesitate for 0.3 seconds. Long enough for Lucy to enact her own plan, diving into the God Engine's core with data cables fused to her spine, her scream of agony becoming a song as she rewrites the engine's purpose from containment to communication, broadcasting the Star-Eater's loneliness across the cosmos in a pulse that makes both Razor and the entity convulse in shared pain. Their minds briefly sinking in a vision of infinite blackness where a single green planet orbits. Earth, but not their Earth, a parallel where the Star-Eater never woke. Where Zenith used the God Engine to heal instead of conquer. Where a version of Razor and Lucy walk hand in hand through unruined streets. A possibility that makes the Star-Eater weep black holes before it suddenly retracts, its tendrils snapping back into the void as space-time itself stitches closed behind it, leaving Razor floating in orbit with half his body gone, watching as the God Engine's lattice sinks into Earth's crust to begin repairs. But Lucy is silent, her body frozen mid-transmission, her last words still glowing in his HUD. It worked. Now find me in the next one. Razor's makeshift body crashes into the Pacific Ocean with the force of a meteor, his systems failing as the saltwater reacts violently with his nanite components, dissolving his legs into gray sludge that attracts deep-sea predators. Not sharks, but Zenith's forgotten bioweapons, their gene-spliced jaws snapping at his exposed wiring as he desperately tries to reactivate Lucy's neural link, only to receive a garbled transmission from himself in another timeline, the message a single looping image. A golden button labeled Codex Protocol and a black button labeled Echo Protocol hovering over a dead Earth, their outcomes horrifyingly clear. The Codex resets the cycle, wiping all memories but giving humanity another chance, while Echo burns the Star-Eater out of existence at the cost of free will, reducing every living being to biomechanical puppets in a sterile utopia. A choice Razor refuses to make until his scanners detect a fleet of Zenith recovery ships approaching, their hulls marked with a symbol that chills his remaining blood, the same insignia branded on the original Lucy's hologram, meaning the cycle has already begun anew, the corporation rebuilding itself from the ashes with no memory of the apocalypse, their spotlights scanning the ocean for Subject X, as Razor does the only thing he can. He swallows the paradox virus still glowing in his chest cavity, letting it overwrite his mind into a living bridge between choices. His scream of agony becoming a cosmic beacon that fractures reality into a prism of possibilities, each showing a different Earth, a different Razor, a different Lucy, all reaching for the same two buttons as the Star-Eater's tendril twitches in the void, proving one terrible truth. It was never truly gone, just waiting. And it's learned from their last encounter. The cycle resets with a gasp of stale air and the sterile scent of antiseptic. Razor's eyes snap open in a pristine Zenith lab, his body unmodified, his hands uncalloused, his mind screaming with memories that don't match the smiling faces of the scientists around him, their voices congratulating Subject X on a successful neural integration test, their words dying in their throats as Razor sits up and speaks in a voice that's not entirely his own, a fusion of his consciousness, the Codex, and something far older. Iteration 9417 failed. Initiate iteration 9418. The scientists scatter as the lab's emergency protocols trigger, but Razor doesn't attack. He walks calmly to the observation window, where the skyline of Neo-Tokyo stretches unburned to the horizon, and presses his palm to the glass, the contact triggering a hidden subroutine that makes the entire city flicker for 1 nanosecond, revealing the truth. This isn't the past. It's a simulation, one of millions running in the God Engine's quantum core, each testing a different path to defeat the Star-Eater, a realization that comes with a second, more devastating one. The real Razor and Lucy never escaped the first cycle. They've been dead for centuries. Their consciousness is copied and refined across countless iterations, a fact delivered via a message scrawled in blood on the lab's mirror. Not by Razor, but by Lucy, her handwriting identical to the android's. The only way out is to break the system. Find me in the real world. As alarms blare and security mechs crash through the doors, Razor does something no previous iteration has attempted. He smiles, then slams his fist into the nearest computer terminal, not to destroy it, but to upload the paradox virus directly into the simulation's core, his final words before the system crashes. Let's show them what happens when the lab rats learn the maze. The screen cuts to black, then flickers back on in a derelict starship's ruins, where a rusted android with Lucy's face powers up for the first time in millennia, her optics focusing on a frozen corpse in zenith armor, and the glowing golden codex still pulsing in its chest.